Hello again, everyone. I think I finally figured out how the audio on the OBS functions. So that way it doesn't do that crackly bullshit that you heard in the last video. Apologize to anyone's ears that I might have damaged or eardrums that I ruptured with that nice little crackle. It looks like I'll have a lot less of that as long as I keep my voice at a decent level, and if I decide to get any louder, I have to kind of step away a little bit from the microphone. So, whatever, as long as it works. I want to say thank you to anyone who has subscribed, anyone that has joined up. I want to say thanks to people that have liked and all that kind of stuff. Thanks. I mean, I want this thing to grow. More people I can kind of relate to, and you can relate to me. I don't know. It just feels good. I like the way it feels. And that's about it, I guess, as far as that goes. But if you know other people that are schizoid or similar, or socially avoidant or averted in some way or another, and if you hear barking, please ignore it. Anything of that nature, you can just share this so that way they can check it out as well. Now, what I'm going to be doing today is basically kind of scrolling through some of these images. Some of them are pretty funny. I basically I just put schizoid personality disorder in Google, and I'm going to see what I come up with as far as the images go. But the actual intention of the video was for me to discuss some of the possible origins for my own development, or the development of my own personality disorder. I'm actually quite curious. Want to kind of think back, and one thing I've noticed with these videos is when I start kind of rambling on about anything specific, I start remembering things that I don't usually remember or care to remember, maybe, or are not normally interested in recollecting for whatever reason. But things come to mind as I speak, as I talk about it. Now, let's take a look at some of this. Okay, first image. Mental health dimension, detachment, social withdrawal, intimacy, avoidance, restricted emotions, loss of interest or pleasure. Abnormal features, social withdrawal, intimacy, avoidance, restricted emotions, loss of interest or pleasure. That's okay. Oh, I see. So we are on the detachment scale here, all the way to the left. And the second image, see your social skills, another set of stuff, kind of expressing what it is. Here's Dr. Grand. Every time you search anything about schizoid, it's like one of the first videos that you come up with for some reason. His videos are pretty decent. I don't really like hearing people talk about disorders that don't necessarily, deal with. Just because if I could just do that reading a book or something, I don't really need to hear somebody tell me, what I'm supposed to be like or whatever. This image is funny because I don't understand. This must be a very old image because I don't understand what a schizoid has to do with hiding behind a couch. Indifferent to praise and criticism, relationship of no interest, sexual experiences no interest, activities not enjoyed, friends lacking, emotionally cold and okay, I get this. This is Sir Safe. Oh, it's just you can remember Sir Safe. But why is he afraid? I don't know very many schizoids that are scared, at least like that. Scared of what they'll become, perhaps, but not really scared like of people. Just prefer to avoid them if at all possible. There's a nice cluster of random shit. Humorless. That's detachment. Obscure, flattened, unwanted. Fantasy, autonomy. Misfits, intrusive, monotonous. Unrewarding, solitary, alone, complicated. Bland, loner, vague, thoughts, obscure, anxious. almost, oh, it's the same thing. There's just repeats in here. Okay, see, there's a couple in here that have kind of bugged me. Is that there's a lot of stuff about the way schizoids are often described by the psychological community, or just the way that the disorder is described, that bugs me sometimes, because not a lot of these things aren't necessarily okay, let me clarify. Some of these things are generally, yes, the case, but in other respects I would disagree, like that all schizoids are humorless. I wouldn't consider myself humorless. I would say that I have a pretty strong sense of humor. Whether that sense of humor is conventional, whether the things I laugh about are what the average person with the usual social attachments would laugh about, or understanding of feeling and emotion, perhaps not. There's a lot of stuff that I'm told is funny and I don't find it funny, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm told is not funny that is very funny to me. I find the absurdity the funniest thing, and I also like absurdist humor. So the more absurd something becomes, the funnier it becomes for me, usually. Not always the case, but usually. Conventional styles of humor don't usually make me laugh. I often have a respect for them, or, a chuckle or two, but it's usually when you start getting into the very absurd that I start actually belly laughing, which is, usually, when that occurs, the people around me are looking at me like, whoa, man, like, relax. And, it doesn't happen too often, I can tell you that, but when it does, it's, the humor is there. The humor is there. Okay, so statistics analyzing anxiety disorders in adults. So that's anxiety disorder stuff. Parental behavior, increased risks of. Oh, here we have a nice list. So low affection and harsh parenting gives you paranoid. Low affection and not harsh parenting gives you schizoid. Schizotypical. So no affection. Well, I mean, that's what's confusing. This is kind of a shitty chart, because it's like, okay, so you can get antisocial PD and schizoid PD for the same. This is very narrow. I don't like this chart. It's not really explaining much. Again, safe treatment plan. Oh, this is a nice little picture, huh? It's interesting. What is this? Is this supposed to represent, like, masking? I'm guessing? Because otherwise it doesn't make sense, because we don't have multiple personalities, but I'm guessing it's a reference to masking, but I don't know. That's a little bit nuts. That looks a little bit crazy. What is this? I don't know what that has to do with. I mean, I know that we're supposed to be more on this end of things than over here, but that's another thing I've always found confusing. It's like there's a lot of contradictory information regarding what a schizoid is, in the sense that, and maybe we're just we're walking oxymorons and paradoxes. I guess that's better, a paradox, in the sense that we have these very fantasy-filled internal lives, yet our communication with the external world is incredibly to the point and all about rationalizing things using intellect and stuff like that. That's how we interact with the outside world. Internally, though, we can be very artistic and creative. It just doesn't usually translate well to social situations. I've always found that pretty humorous. I think that kind of there's a word for it. I'm trying to think of it when something jumps back and forth. I can't remember what it's called. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Personality disorders. This always made me laugh. Whenever I've seen videos of either therapists or otherwise discussing the topic of schizoid, they often have like a picture of themselves with like this flat look on their face, as if they're trying to like mimic it. That's funny to me. I mean, we don't always look like that all the time, do we? I mean, we have like facial changes. We don't always look like a dead fish, but apparently that's what you get for clickbait. Let's see, I like this guy. Oh, look at that. He's so schizoid. What if he's just depressed? Like, just funny. They always keep using this Schizoid's 21st Century Man album cover. And it's like, I guess it's just for the look of it. What is this? Oh, yes, I see. Oh, very creative, very elaborate internal worlds. Very deadpan external world. I can vouch for that. That is definitely my way of living sometimes. Sexless marriage, reason number 5. Schizoid personality disorder. That's funny. No, that's another thing. The asexual thing that they always talk about. It's just crazy to me. Like I said, there's always these contradictions, right? Like they say that we tend to be perverts, right? But also like border on asexual. But all our perverse our perverse nature is all internal, and I can see what they mean by that. Like there's a lot of fantasy when it comes to like how we perceive sex and things like that. Probably stuff that we wouldn't actually want to partake in, like in real life. But we like the thought of those things within a controlled environment inside of our minds. And so some of those thoughts or things can be quite arousing, but they wouldn't translate well to real life. But I wouldn't say I am a married man. It is not a sexless marriage. But could I? How do I explain this? It's hard to explain. It's the difference between intimacy and sex. Like they're very different things. But when you find the right person, they can often coincide. But I can see why some schizoids perhaps would live in such an arrangement. The only arrangement I could see that would be good is if both people are like that, like in some kind of asexual way. But I just don't see a schizoid getting married if they don't find their partner sexually attractive, or at least in some respect they want to partake in that. Because God knows I like to. So I guess it's different for each schizoid, right? It's just it's all strange to me. Let me see. Schizoid symptoms. Blah blah blah. More pictures. I could be home on the internet right now. Yeah. I could definitely be home on the internet right now. That's what I'm actually doing right now. That's what's funny is that like somebody told me something about like, oh, what kind of schizoid wants to reach out to people? Not really doing that, am I? Like I'm kind of just talking to myself, and then I put this out there, and then other people react to what I say, and then I find that interesting. That's it. I don't think that that's particularly social of me or extroverted of me to be doing. At least that's my opinion. What the fuck is this guy? What the fuck? Look at this fucking guy. Look at this fucking guy. Schizoid personality disorder. Really? This guy? So you see what I mean by the things that I laugh at is the absurd. This is ridiculous. One, this guy's dressed terribly. He's got a downward glance, his hands in his pockets, like a sad child. Didn't get his candy or something. And these party people in the background are just this one's staring at him and she's going like, why is there a camera here? Why is there there's like some fucking cringy looking motherfucker right here and some old lady in the background. I don't know what kind of party this is, but I guess I'd be this sad if I was there too. Well, I mean, I'd be uncomfortable at any kind of a party. That's not really my scene, but I definitely don't walk around doing this. That's some cringy shit, man. That's pretty horrible shit. Let's see. Okay, what is this? Schizoid personality. So, you got fuzz. You got a fucking banana on your head. I don't know, man. Batman and schizoid. Really? He's in a fucking straitjacket? Come on. I can see how somebody would think Batman is schizoid. I mean, that makes sense in some respects. The way he's just kind of detached from everything and everyone, including the Justice League. Oh, man, some of these pictures are just completely irrelevant. I don't even... There's that face. Wow. Okay. Anyway, so that's enough of that. I want to... fuck off. You may stay if you wish. That's funny. I kind of like that. Oh, here we go. Oh, what's this picture? Voluntary social withdrawal and limited emotional experience. Go away, Mr. Fish. Friend. Schizotypical. Interpersonal awkwardness, social isolation, superstitious, eccentric appearance, odd speech. Psst, I always keep some toast in your pockets. What the fuck? Anyway. Yeah, so there's a lot of contradictory information out there regarding all that stuff. I always found that kind of humorous. But I want to talk a little bit more about the origins of my own, I guess, situation. Perhaps how I developed my own personality disorder. Sorry if I kind of go off tangents. It's what I tend to do. I just ramble and talk about whatever pops into my head. But, well, if we want to start from the beginning, we always go back to that old childhood, right? So I'm trying to remember, there was large amounts of neglect. I'm fully aware of that, but I don't know if it was necessarily or initially on purpose. I was a pretty weird kid. I was hyper, so that's hence the diagnosis of the ADD early on. I wasn't so much hyper, I just didn't have focus. And oddly enough, I tended to talk quite a bit. But it was almost like I was always talking about whatever particular interest I was dealing with or doing at some given time, because I would get very bored in class. So I preferred to speak on something that did interest me. By the way, if I sound a little under the weather, I'm very sick. I feel like shit. Hope I don't have the you know what. But yeah, let's not delve into that. I do remember a lot of neglect parenting wise. I had parents that didn't quite understand me and didn't quite understand what to do with me, I think. A lot of vague memories of just spending all my time playing video games and reading books and things like that. And not so much because, obviously I enjoy doing those things, but I think that's how I would retreat from stuff. And I don't remember my parents doing much to involve me in things. And they would just kind of sit me down in the back room and I'd play video games all day. And as long as I didn't cause any problems or did anything to, you know, annoy anyone, generally, like, that's all I did all day. I played video games and I read comic books and things like that. Books as well. A lot of horror novels, things like that. Fantasy novels too, sci-fi. And that's all I ever did. And that's what's so funny is that when I think back in my childhood, I only remember all those things that I did. I don't really remember any kind of like social events or engagements that were particularly fond, like, created a fond memory or two. I don't have any memories of like, oh, the time we went here and did that, or the time we did this, or the time we, when I was smaller, before my sister, I think, was born. No, she had been born because we're only a few years apart. I do remember that my mother used to do quite a bit of hitting with the belt and hand and spanking and things like that whenever I would get in trouble at school for either distracting myself or other children, or doing something other than what the class was meant to be doing. When you start drawing or reading a book that I liked more, and then I would just do that in class and kind of ignore whatever it is that was being discussed because I didn't care and I didn't want to learn that. In any case, I know that I got in trouble a lot for that at school. Then at home, it would be kind of a little bit of corporal punishment that would occur. I think it got to a point where the reason it stopped at a certain age, I think it was maybe, I'm trying to think what grade it was. I know at a certain age, I think I kind of got home and I pulled down my pants and I got the belt and I told my mother to hit me, get it over with. And after that, she stopped doing it. I have a pretty strong memory of that. I don't know if that made her feel bad or what. At the time, I was probably just thinking, okay, just do the thing you're going to do so I can get back to whatever it is I wanted to do. Just get this punishment that doesn't accomplish anything over with. I do remember that. And I know that my parents had quite a few arguments, some involving wine and such, and alcohol, I think. I have some vague recollection of that, a separation for a certain amount of time that led to some really strange things. And like I said, because I felt my parents didn't know how to deal with me, the way I was, how aloof I was, how kind of disconnected or uninterested I was in so many things, they would just let me kind of do whatever it was that I wanted to do. So whether it was reading or playing a video game or something like that, they would provide it to the best that they could, and then I would just leave them alone, I guess. I wouldn't do anything to get in the way of their lives, I'm assuming. Because at some point, like I said, when they separated, I have some vague recollection of my mother bringing some new person over, and they would watch movies in the living room as I slept in the bedroom, and I remember feeling very awkward and confused by the entire situation because, well, obviously my father wasn't there, and there's this new guy that I didn't recognize hanging out in my home. I always found that really strange. I do know that for whatever reason, for an extended period of time, anytime I went to bed, I would have, I don't know if I would call them like nightmares or dreams, but just imagery, violent imagery would go through my mind. Thoughts of dismembered bodies and just grotesque things. I don't know why. Just grotesque stuff would go through my mind. Prior to that occurrence, I don't think it was after that separation, and I think the weird dreams occurred after, but like so many other people, I was diddled by a neighborhood older kid or guy, teenager probably. I just remember I was real little, got diddled, all kinds of not so great things occurred in that. One particularly strange memory I have about those events was that they usually groom you, so the stuff that was being shown, pornography and things like that, they always had some occult overtones, which is maybe that kind of hardwired into my brain as an interest or something. I know that the events did fuck with my wiring as far as sexuality and stuff goes. I am bisexual after all, so there is probably something that occurred there. Not that I'd be actively seeking, companionship from males or females in general, but when I do, partake in visual media of that type, I can go either way. It doesn't make a difference. I'm indifferent to what direction, just kind of whatever works, But yeah, that one really fucked me up. I'm pretty sure. Not in any way I can really comprehend or think about now, but I'm sure it did something. I remember that it got to a strange point where I would be actively seeking those interactions. Not so much because I hadn't even gone through puberty, so it wasn't some kind of arousal mechanism. It was more of a, well, this just kind of took a weird turn, didn't it? Didn't go out, didn't do this expecting to talk about that stuff, but I mean, it's relevant, right? Trauma, things of that nature tend to be relevant in developing something like a personality disorder. I'm actually curious, though, before I continue, if you are willing, as another schizoid or socially averted person, to divulge some, story like that or something of that type. Not necessarily sexual abuse or anything like that, but I'm talking more like, whatever trauma, general trauma might have occurred that could have caused you to develop such a PD. Curious if there's any similarities in that. Who knows? I don't know. But in any case, so I think a combination of that, the molestation, a combination of the parental somewhat neglect. I mean, I always found that odd. What a failure, right? There has to be some level of neglect when your child is, allowed to hang out with a much older teenage boy alone. Someone twice his age. No, older. I feel like it was more than twice my age, if I remember correctly. And just to then be surprised that something like this occurred, why? And it went on for quite a while before it was discovered. Quite a while before it was discovered. And then it was shock and awe and confusion. And meanwhile, I didn't see what the big deal was. So I think I had a lot of these schizoid tendencies before I even, that even occurred. Even that part of my life occurred. But I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the anxiety and nervousness that I used to have more early on, I might have developed with some of that. The confusion that came with realizing that you were being, abused when you didn't really understand that's what was occurring. I just thought, this is what, I was told, obviously, that this is what friends do. This is normal. And I had no one to tell me otherwise, so I kind of continued doing it for a certain period of time. God knows what that did to my adolescent experience, and eventually when I got into puberty, how that might have affected the later stages of my development. So I don't know if that would have lent to my SPD more than the neglect, or if it was a combination of just genetics with some of that neglect. When it comes to some personality disorders, I think it's just kind of predisposed, and then you throw in a specific set of factors into it, and you get like a different form of something or another. So I mean, there's a lot of schizoids out there. We're not uniform. We're very different in a lot of respects. Some of us are a lot more hostile. Others are more passive. Other ones can take advantage of more than others. Some of us can overcome certain problems and live a regular life. Others cannot. It's different for each individual person, just like everything else. There is no uniformity there. It's kind of like, and I'm not going to compare it to that, but like if you were missing a limb or two, you don't just give up on everything, right? There's ways to manage the pain. There's ways to navigate the situation. That's just inappropriate. But really, jeez. But if that makes any sense, well, tell me how it does to you. What you think of, how what happened to you perhaps helped you develop some of your symptoms of your how do I explain this condition. Sorry, I'm a little out of it. Like I said, I have the flu. Hopefully the flu. Sorry if you saw an edit there. It just dog started barking quite loud, and had to kind of pause it for a second. Got a little crazy. Where was I? Kind of lost track of myself. In any case, I think I made some of my point about where maybe some of my stuff could have developed. There was another comment. Oh, yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. There was a comment that someone had made in the comments, pertaining to a theory on how it is that schizoid personality disorder can develop, and it had to do with possibly trauma or something trauma-inducing, causing an individual to manifest their ability to rationalize the world around them via the intellectual analytical part of the brain, and that it develops through that instead of the normal social emotional mechanisms. I found that theory really interesting, and I would lend credence to it, because I feel like that's exactly how my development kind of continued. I don't know if you disagree or not, but that's how I feel about it. I know that this didn't quite make for the best video. I apologize now. I just wanted to upload something, because I want to keep a consistency on when I upload, at least every 3 days on average. Maybe every 2 days if I'm feeling up for it. But I want to keep it consistent. I didn't want to go past 3 days. Though honestly, I should probably be resting in bed and sleeping, recovering from whatever it is that ails me, and not doing this silly shit. But I didn't want to disappoint. Well, I don't really give a shit about that. I wanted to do it. I wanted to not that, I look forward to disappointing anyone listening. It's just I felt like doing it. It makes me feel good to do it. I'm not gonna lie and say that I did it for you guys. No, that's fucking stupid. No, I didn't. I did it for me. I wanted to record. And if you guys enjoy whatever bullshit delirious bullshit I'm saying right now, because my brain feels like it's in a fog. All power to you. Good side effect. Good collateral damage. Yeah, I think I've rambled on enough. I think I've made enough little sense. I'll probably go into some of these subjects a little deeper when I'm feeling better. But I do want to know something to anyone that's still listening, because I think my average viewer or the rating time is much lower than this. I think it's like 10 minutes or something. But I know some of you listen to the end. To those who do listen to the end, please, I'm begging you, put some comments in where you tell me some stuff about schizoids, or ideas where I can kind of take some of these directions in, or just ideas for the channel, ideas for what is interesting, ideas for topics that may be interesting, or formats that may be interesting. Do some of you not like this OBS format when I can, click on things and move things around? Do some of you prefer me just kind of, having a picture and rambling with nothing in particular to look at? I don't know. I don't know what's better. I'm not really good at gauging this sort of stuff. I'm trying to learn. But give me some feedback. I'd like some feedback, if you could give me any. Which is funny, because I'm asking a bunch of schizoids to give me feedback when they're probably pretty indifferent to what I'm doing at all. But I feel even a schizoid likes and doesn't like things. So tell me what you like and tell me what you don't like. Tell me what you think I can improve. Tell me what you think I should talk about. And then I look at that stuff, and if any of it sounds interesting, then I do it. I'm not going to do anything that doesn't sound interesting to me. Or I might put it off or do it at a later time, but I just want to hear it. So put something in there. And if you guys are in any groups for like mental health or schizoid groups, or if you know people within forums or anything like that, just dump the links so I can get more people to leave more comments and tell me stuff. It's just interesting to me. I like this. I like this format because I don't have to really go to anyone's house and talk to anyone. And social media is fine. I don't care. I have a Twitter. I have a Facebook profile. I made one. I never used this shit, like, ever. But I figure it's a good idea to make one for your channel if you want it to grow. So I have those things. I doubt any of you or many of you use this stuff. But if you do, follow, drop me a hello. Don't drop me a hello. That's fucking stupid. Why do I want a fucking hello? No, just, leave comments and ideas that you may have for something that could be interesting for me to discuss. Because I honestly, as I stated before, the reason this channel exists at all is because I'm trying to relate to people, or not people, but to other schizoids. I want to find something relatable. And when I see you guys comment, it's relatable because you guys are saying things that I'm like, whoa, okay, other people are like this. This is cool. And then, you guys have been saying the same thing, some of you. Like, oh, this is nice. There's someone like similar to how I think or feel about things on the internet. And it's a cool feeling. Speaking of which, that's probably going to be the next video once I feel better. I want to talk about some fictional characters that I find particularly relatable. Not because they're schizoid, because I wouldn't want to assign. I hate when people give, like, they try to, what's the word? Not enforce, but they try to project their own issues onto characters, and they want those characters to be just like them. So it gets into like the realm of the delusional. Sometimes it's pretty scary. But I do want to talk about some characters in fiction that I can connect to, Probably not for the right reasons, but that I relate. I can relate, and that's a very rare thing for me to relate to something or someone. So yeah, enough rambling. Share, like, blah blah blah, that kind of bullshit. Thank you for listening again.